Hello again. All right, so just a very quick overview of who Gooru is before I get into what Navigator is. Gooru is 10 years old now, actually, which is exciting. We were founded by Prasad Ram during his time at Google. That's where the Goo and the Guru comes from. And what Gooru offers you is our Navigator platform. Navigator is the GPS for learning. So similar to how your GPS can route you to wherever you need to go, and regardless of if there's construction or if a road's out, it will get you to the exact location you need to go. That's how Navigator seeks to work. So what it does is it locates gaps through a diagnostic and also just through your students' interactions with the system, depending on what they get right, what they get wrong. And then it uses that information to map out a unique individualized route for each student. And then as the students demonstrate, again, success or struggle, they can be rerouted and presented new material to supplement what they've already seen. So data and reports are available every single step of the way. You'll see we have lots of data. I'm sure some of you math people and science people truly love data, so I'm excited to show you all of that. And then the data that we present, and from your feedback, we've taken this into account. We have designed it to be actionable at every step. And then, as I said, Navigator is designed to supplement and support what you're already doing in your classroom. It's not meant to be a replacement. It's meant to help you, essentially. So we typically recommend setting a school or district level goal. So that can be something along 2 competencies per week. A competency is a learning standard, or 15 minutes a night, or 20 minutes a week, whatever you so choose. And you can also choose to implement it in your classroom if you would like. You could use it for independent work time. You could use it for group work, breakout groups, all sorts of things. So you can use Navigator in a plethora of ways, essentially. And then we just have some fun stats for you all. These are always just such a treat to see, in my opinion. So we currently have 5 lab school districts. You're one of them. That's important to note. That means that we have a very close relationship. Your feedback directly impacts the product. And then we also have many, many content sources and many partners. And yeah, back to Hannah.
Cool. So on the last slide here, I just do want to mention there's lots of support. So we have an hour with you today. And I imagine I've been there, I've been in the trainings and the PD at the beginning of the year, and I know everyone wants to finish setting up their classroom, so I feel your anxiety. We're going to go over a bunch of stuff. It's okay if not everything sticks. It's a busy time of year, so there's lots of support resources that we have available and that will continue to be available for you throughout the school year. So they're all linked on this page here, and we'll make this presentation available through Trisha, so you can have this forever. You can click on any of the links. We have a new community site, which has lots of knowledge articles. We have a really nice user handbook that Dina put together, and it shows you more of like, how do I do blank? So we'll go over lots of, like Dina said, cool reports and things, but if you really want to take a look at how do I get here or how do I do that, I would look at the handbook. And we also have a YouTube page that I linked there as well, which is just lots of videos on how do I do certain things. And as always, if you were with us last year or if you're new, you can email us anytime at support@gooru.org. Before I think everybody got on the call, Preeti was saying we have team members all over the world. So Dina and I are on the East Coast. We have, and Bodo as well. We have Preeti and Pram on the West Coast, and then we have an awesome team in India. So pretty much anytime you have a question, someone will get back to you quickly. We'll also have weekly office hours, so I'll schedule those and share the dates. You don't have to stay for the whole hour. It's like, you know, back when you were in college, you could show up, ask a question, and then leave. Same deal here. Q&A sessions, and we'll do a sort of a booster or follow-up training in the fall and winter. So what we're giving you today is really what you need to know to get started. So there's always more, but we're going to try and keep it at what do I need in order to use this with my kids within the next couple of weeks. We're going to keep it at that level. So I'm going to exit this presentation. I'm going to stop sharing so Dina can share her screen, and she's going to take you through a student side demo. So as she does that, please feel free to drop questions in the chat. And as Dina's talking, I'll do my best to answer the questions, and then the reverse when I'm showing you the teacher side.
All right. Well, I'm going to be taking you through the student side. Oh, I see. There we go. Actually, I'm sorry. Zoom is also not my forte. Let me try to switch which desktop this is showing. My apologies.
That's okay. Eric, good question on when will you have the classes set up. So once everything is established in ClassLink, it'll take us about 2 weeks to make sure everything is lined up in our system and quality check it. So everything is all set. So I don't remember the exact date of when ClassLink will be solidified, but I think it's within the next week or so. So I would say classes would be set up hopefully by the end of the month, would be my guess.
I'm guessing I should not have it on for Wednesday of next week then?
Correct.
Okay. I just want to introduce it early and get kids set up. So
100% understand. And I appreciate your vote of confidence in things happening that quickly. All right, Dina, we're still on your desktop.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Are we good now?
Yes.
Okay. Maybe. Lovely. All right. Now that I have figured out Zoom, let's get started with the student demo. So as you can see, those of you that have used Navigator before, the class cards for students look pretty different this year. We tried to make it a bit more clean and give them more information at a glance. So let me find a good one. This is a good one. So if we look at this class card right here, we can see this 190 with the kangaroo. This shows that a student has mastered 190 competencies or lessons so far. So that is an exciting number. They can also see their average performance on assessments from the beginning of the year till now, the time they've spent from the beginning of the year till now, and then also their course progress. So course progress, 100% would be reaching proficiency, which would be meeting essentially the grade standard. So 7th grade, you've mastered all competencies. In 7th grade, you have 100%. And then if we click in, whereas before we were taken directly to the learning journey, we're now brought to this page, the dashboard. So this gives students, again, a one-stop shop to see all of their data. So they can view their Skyline, which I'll cover shortly, their learning journey, which is where they'll spend the majority of their time. And they can also see how they're doing. And then also if they have any class activities that have been assigned by the teacher. So just from this, I want to point out a few really exciting things. We added this little box, as Hannah has been affectionately calling the happy box. And this is essentially just a place to shout out achievements and just say great job with whatever they've been doing. If they have been having struggle, there won't be anything in this box. We're not trying to say, congratulations, you have a streak of 1 day. But as soon as they have like a true achievement, there it goes. So I can click on any of these things to go to different places in the student. And I actually want to go to the learning journey, but I'm going to go to a different account for that just because I want to show you this really fun bit. All right, so if the student just clicks here, they'll be brought to their learning journey. And then additionally, if the student clicks on right here, they can still access it. So this is a new course, so I apologize for that little red bar. This is a demo course, but I'd like to show you some of our new content. So to play, the student will just click play and they'll be brought to the new study player, which looks a lot better than the old study player. It's far more engaging in my opinion. And then from here, we can see all of the resources and materials that are in this collection. And we can also see the amount of time spent. Then we also have options like if they want to seek out more content, they can click related content. If there are instructions available, say, try this problem on your own and then watch the video or something like that, that'll appear there. That'll automatically pop up if it's populated though. And then your students are just going to click next. And that is essentially how they're going to interact with the system. There are also questions interspersed throughout. But I'm actually just going to take you back very quickly.
Dina, can I interject?
Are you about to say lessons are? Because that's what I was about to say.
No.
Okay.
I'm not going to step on your toes. So one thing I did just want to say that comes up sometimes in training is that it goes back to what Dina said earlier, that this is really just meant to support what you're doing in class. We're not trying to make extra work for you. So you don't have to create any of these assessments or lessons that Dina is showing. They're already in the system. So the whole objective here is for Navigator to figure out where your kids are starting and where their gaps are, especially with this pandemic year. We know that there's going to be gaps. And Navigator then charts out how to get them to grade level proficiency. And so we know that looks different for every kid, because I've not yet encountered a group of kids where every single one is on the same lesson at the same time. But all of those lessons and resources are already in the system. So there's no extra building that you have to do. You don't even have to assign it. It's already there. So I just wanted to be clear that this can essentially be run without you. No offense to you, I was a classroom teacher too, but this can be run in your absence, essentially. You don't have to do any extra work. Okay, go ahead, Dina.
Actually, real quick, Hannah.
Yeah.
I want to ask about that because when we were testing on it 2 years ago, when we were going through it and putting in, all our students tested in at the 7th grade level. Everybody bottomed out and had the exact same Skyline, which starts from all the same spot. So we adjusted it down to find, because some of them were testing in at the 4th and 5th grade level, which was fine, but we were looking for something that meets them where they're at and then brings them to that. Would we still be able to do that with this?
Yes, absolutely. And so I swear we didn't pay Eric, but he just segued us into a nice section here. So based on your feedback, we also changed the way we do the diagnostics. So we heard you loud and clear in that feedback where many of you were saying, all of my kids tested at the same level. Like, I know that's not true. So what we've switched is instead of doing that diagnostic at the beginning of the course, one and done, they're built in now at the domain level. So whenever the student encounters a new domain, they'll be assessed at the domain level. So you might end up with a student at a 6th grade level in ratios and proportions, and then at an 8th grade level for geometry. So yeah, but there's still also the teacher control there too. If you notice, like, I don't know, this kid had a lucky day on their diagnostic, I don't think they are where they're testing, you can adjust that too. So yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. All right, and then I'm just going to give a high-level tour of the learning journey itself. So as you can see, we've hopefully colored it in a traffic light system, so the students can tell at a glance where they're doing really well and where they might need to revisit. And then every single one of these is a competency or a learning standard. So every single lesson addresses one specific competency or learning standard. And then within each lesson, we have a collection of resources. There are oftentimes interactives, videos, and our newest feature, interactive videos. And then additionally, we have a CFU, a check for understanding, which is a short, often 5-question assessment that assesses the student for mastery. So if a student scores 80% or above, that's considered mastery, and the system will consider that they have achieved their goal with that specific lesson. Now, if a student does not do too well on this assessment, as we can see, a 50%, the system itself will give them a reroute, a suggestion. It'll get, in this instance, it gave another collection of resources, just so the students can maybe watch a video, read something, try an interactive, and see if they can get a handle. And then they can re-attempt that check for understanding and hopefully display mastery. Oop, did not mean to click in. All right. So what else can I show you? I'm going to dive in just quickly to some reports. So as you can see, we have updated our reports. They are much more palatable. So just from this, we can see the time spent for the month of August, the amount of time they spent in collections and on those assessments, so CFUs. And then we also have little shout outs, things that you can say, hey, good job, you did 4 lessons in a row, or you scored at least 90% on this. But one of our newest features that I think you'll find very helpful is targets for growth in areas of concern. So this shows up on the student side and on the teacher side. So if a student has been scoring 51% to 79%, it'll show up in here. So they can see that and know, oh, I should probably go back and try that again. And then similar, this is things that they really should address. But we also have competencies mastered, which can be very exciting if you do all time. You just see all of those things you did. And on that note, the student can actually change the date range so they can see exactly what they've done. All right. And then from here, I'm just going to show the Skyline. So those of you that have been with us before are very familiar with this graph. So this is our Skyline. So every single one of these blocks is one of those lessons we saw in the learning journey. It's one competency, one learning standard. So we can see every single dark blue block is something that a student scored 80% or above on, so something they've mastered. Every light blue block is something that's in progress. And then everything in gray is something they have not yet started. So the Skyline is where your student is right now. So typically whenever they take their diagnostics, this will shift, but it'll give them an exact location of this is what you know right now. And then the green line is their high line. This is most often grade level, but if they meet grade level, you can extend that to wherever you'd like. And so from this, the student's goal is to build up blocks to get from their Skyline to their high line, filling it in one block at a time. So it gives dynamic real-time data about how close they're getting to where they need to be. And it can go month by month, which is also pretty fun. And then if the student is feeling particularly adventurous, they can also click in and see the exact standards and also see what they have, what they've worked on. Also things like metadata, all kinds of fun things. All right. And then also, if the system or you, the teacher, chooses to give a suggestion, those will pop up right here. So we can see the system has suggested this learner quite a few different things, but one thing to note is the students have a lot of agency with this platform, so they can choose if they would like to do this or not. You can, of course, encourage them strongly, but that is a built-in piece of agency that we have. Similarly, the learning journey, I should have mentioned this, does not have to be, the students don't have to do it one at a time. They can skip around if they so please. although most students choose not to do this, it is possible within the platform. And
Hey,
then
Dina,
yes.
can you take us through the student progress report one more time, just so we can look at the date changing?
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right. This?
Yep.
All right. So you could do daily, pick your date, do weekly, monthly, custom if you so choose, or all time to get the best numbers. Oh, and then it's also downloadable. Is that sufficient, or would you like a little bit more on?
No, that's great. There was just a couple questions in chat about making sure that students can see where they started.
Oh, absolutely.
Sort of how far they've come. Can you actually talk quickly? This is just for me, a personal question. Can you talk quickly about the competencies mastered, the targets for growth, like the different colors and how those are broken up there? Like what the green is and what the red is and that kind of thing?
Oh, yeah. So again, this is the traffic light system. So dark green is go. You are on a streak, keep going. Orange is around 60%, and that's a hold up. Maybe we should look at this a little bit closer moment. And then the red is, we should probably put the brakes on and see what's going on here. But it's, yeah, traffic light colored. Any other questions? I don't have my chat up, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay, I got it.
Okay.
I have a question. Can, because it looks like it's all scattered by like the months. It's not really organized where all April stays together, all of May stay together. Is there a way that we could view it that is just more organized to the eye, and so the students can actually see the growth, whether it's by graph or something? Rather, it's just a little confusing looking at it this way.
Oh no, that's completely understandable. And we don't have anything like that right now, but our tech team is on the call and we can talk to them with about that and try to figure out a solution for you.
One way that I'm thinking is if you go to the Skyline and just show the metric from one date, you know, the bottom where you can drag the date.
Oh, that, yes.
I wanted to be able to clarify my question.
Sure.
Our old program we used, I was able to meet with my students and I was able to share with them individually. And then we did many conferences throughout the year and their growth improved immensely. And so when I look at the graph, I had a hard time showing a beginning point where they started to where they were and then where they need to go from. And so when they have that information, it empowers them a lot. And I couldn't do that with the graph. I could only show them where they were currently at. And I think it would be super helpful if you could show where they started somehow with a different color. And then I can say, this is where you started, this is how much you've grown, but this is where you need to go. And by me conferencing with them in our team, we did that with all our kids. And there was such empowerment and buy-in. And I wanted to do that with your program and I couldn't. And so I'm looking to do that with it. So if there's some way you can show me how to do it, I would really like to share that with each of my students individually.
All right. So the current best method we would have for that is, as Hannah said, just dragging the slider back to the very, very beginning. Because that'll show the very first impression the system had of the student. So where it thinks the student began. And then as you drag it forward, you can, well, as you drag the little dot forward, you can actually start to see the growth. Not necessarily in this account, because this is a demo account with data populated on the back end, but in a true student account, you'll be able to see that growth month by month.
So if we go back to the other one and put in the days, am I able to see a percentage for that one, like for the 1 and the 2 standard?
I see. I see.
Do you see what I mean? Because it's,
Yeah.
yay, they're growing, but how much? How much did you grow in that category? And did you maintain it? And because some kids would move forward, but then if they stopped practicing, they would fall back down. So we actually had a percentage in each category. So if they were at 63%, you know, their goal was to improve in each category, so their percentage became higher. You know, if that makes sense, but.
No, it does. It does.
Yep,
Okay.
no, that does make sense. So I like that idea actually.
Yeah.
Probably also with sort of like the younger kids too, some type of like a single metric of like this percentage of growth, or a single color that shows the starting point on the skyline. So in our notes for the meeting today, we'll definitely we'll include that in our tech team on the call. We're going to bring that up again.
All right. And then just one side note, this wasn't part of the scheduled demo, but I'll just show you very, very quickly. If the students actually just click on their name, they can go to their portfolio as well. And this gives them a list in order, sequentially by date, of exactly what they worked on in what order. And it can be filtered. That's just some food for thought, though. Anything else you'd like me to show on the student side, Hannah? Or do you think that?
So no, I think we're okay there. So I'm just checking our chat here. Got it. Okay, so in terms of a report that allows you to view a whole class at the same time, yes, I'll show you that on the teacher side in a second.
All right, let me stop sharing them.
Okay. All right, so let me switch then. Dina, you're on chat now. Did anyone have any quick questions that they wanted addressed on the student side, or should we move on to, we can move on to teacher? It looks like we will have a little bit of time at the end for questions, so. Okay, so on the teacher side, you'll notice it looks pretty similar to the student side, so that's on purpose. And those of you that had classes on Navigator last year, same deal. You'll have one card per class. So your period 5 math class will have one card, and period 6 will have another card. And we are working to make sure that we don't end up with the issue where last year we had bunches of versions of the same class. So we've got lots of safeguards in place to make sure that doesn't happen. Give me 1 second to just yell at my dog. I'm sorry. Okay. All right. So I'm going to click into a class card here just so we can look at some of the stuff on the teacher side. So I am going to take you actually to the learning journey first. So it looks very similar, like the class cards. It looks very similar to the student side. So each student has their own personalized learning journey that shows sort of where they're starting and where they're heading and how they do on each lesson that they work on. On the teacher side, you also have the learning journey, but it shows a composite for all of your kids. So courses are typically broken up into milestones, which a lot of times with classes like math is just like grade levels worth of material. So just at the super high level, I can see how many of my kids have worked on stuff in the 2nd grade band and how they're doing. And again, just at a really high level, using that traffic light system, I can see right off the bat here that my kids are doing fine on the lower grade levels of stuff, a little struggly, but okay in the middle grade levels. And then I should be a bit more concerned up here in the higher grade levels of material. Most things are clickable. So I am making a conscious effort to not overwhelm. I've said this on one of our other calls. I get really excited by data and all the data that's available, but I'm trying to sort of temper myself here so I don't just, start screaming about data in front of all of you. So in the grade bands here, so if I just like to take a quicker look, let's say at my 7th grade math. So this is an 8th grade class. I've got kids working on material 2nd grade all the way through 8th grade. I would like to take a closer look at what's going on with that 7th grade material. So as Dina mentioned, each of these lines represents one lesson or one learning standard. We sometimes call those competencies too. So we use all those interchangeably. And it gives the domain at the top and then the lesson name underneath. So again, I can see kids are doing moderately okay, but still not great. And then my eye is drawn right here, right away to this red. So then I can identify, I've had 2 kids that worked on this. There was one serious struggle and one not so much struggle. So you can really get as close of a look as you want at things. So if you want to keep it high level and just look at these super broad trends of the grade levels worth of material, you can do that. If you'd like to look at specific lessons where kids might be struggling, you can just do that, looking at this level, seeing where's red, where's green. And then you also have the option to look in the lesson. And so there was a question a moment ago in terms of making small groups. I think this would be a really good way to do that. So what I did, and again, there's videos on this, so don't worry if it doesn't stick right away. So just clicking in, observing the milestone. I'm just trying to find one that has some variety here so we can make some small groups. We'll just go with this one here. So in my 5th grade milestone, I can see in this lesson, in this domain, I've got 9 kids that worked and the average score was a 63. So I have the option to click in and look a little bit more here, and you can sort by score. So Dennis is my strongest in this category. I've got a group in the middle here and then a group that's struggling a bit more. So that's one way to make groups, is to just sort by score. You can click on any. Know anything. What did you say? Okay. So yeah, you can just click on any of these and just sort. And so this only shows you the kids that have worked on it. So not every student will have all these lessons. It really depends on how they do on those diagnostics and where their sort of unique gaps are. So it just shows you the data for the students that have worked on these specific lessons. So we have that visualization of data. This is pretty much the same as last year, but it's there for you. Another way to visualize data is on this performance overview tab. This is the one I'm very excited about, so I'm going to try and keep my speech not really fast. So on this performance overview tab, you have a bunch of different visualizations of data. And as we said in the beginning here, all the data are designed to be actionable. So some of the feedback that you all gave us last year was that there is so much data, it's almost like we don't know what to do with it, or there's so much data, but it's not the data that I want. So we listened and we tried to bring all those reports that you asked for to the surface so you can find them and then also actually use them. So you'll notice that a lot of the data here, it's actually showing you really similar information, but just in different ways. So you can find one that you like, or you can find one that you find to be the most actionable. So this one's my favorite, actually, is this chart here. So this just shows you all your kids on a scatter plot. Performance is on the left, on the y-axis, and then their number of competency gains, or those lesson gains, is along the bottom. And you can actually just turn on the grade grid to see approximately at what grade level as a whole each student is working on. So this is one of those super high level metrics. If you're just checking in thinking, gosh, I should probably pull, I don't know, 5 or 6 kids that are really struggling in math. Let me just find my 5 lowest here and I'll pull them and we'll just do a quick review, something like that. Or I'm going to be out, I have a sub coming in, I need to tell them which student to sort of assign to the other students to help them when they're struggling. Let me just pick these first 3. So it's just one way to really quickly view where all of your kids are in relation to each other. So that was there last year. And then we added some stuff along the bottom here, lots of new data based on what you all asked for. So first thing we have is just like the high level class data. So on the prior page, I could see individual lessons and individual milestones, how kids are doing. Here's this is the average score on every single assessment all of my kids have taken. They are averaging a 62%. You can see the average gains per student. And this class has been going on for like 2 years, so this is a high number. And then the number in progress for each student. So this is your really, really high level. If your principal asks you, this is how my class is doing as a whole. We also heard you when you asked for knowing how many competencies kids have gained relative to each other. So I can see here, I've got about half of my kids, slightly more, have gained about or mastered about 5 to 14 competencies. And then I have another chunk that's mastered 15 to 35 competencies, and then a smaller piece here that have mastered more. So it's just another really high level visualization of about half my kids, most of my kids have mastered between 5 and 14 lessons. One of the things that we also heard you ask for was milestone level data. So on our prior slide, or the prior page where we looked at that learning journey, and we could see high level how the kids are doing on the 3rd grade material. Here's another way to look at it. You can see how many kids are working or have material in each of those grade levels. And so this is not a massive class. Numbers are repeated here. So a student might have grade 3, 4, 5, all the way through 8th grade. So they'll appear in each of these columns. So again, if you just need a super high level bit of information, like I have 23 kids in my class and 16 of them have material and gaps in 2nd grade. I think that's a useful piece of information. So this is the one I'm very, very, very excited about, is the data by milestone. I actually remember the feedback call where this came up, and the ask that you all had. So in addition to just telling you, you have 16 kids that have material that they need to work on in 2nd grade, you can also look at specifically how they're doing on that. So in the 2nd grade milestone, in my 8th grade class here, I just want to see in that 2nd grade band, how are we doing and what are we working on? So you can see every single student, sort of the highest level they've reached in that grade and their average score. So I can see my kids are doing really well on that 2nd grade stuff. That's great. If I have a particular student I'm concerned about, I can just check to see where they are in that 2nd grade level band. And it exists for all of those milestones. So this is an 8th grade class. The last milestone is 8th grade. I can see the highest point that all of my kids are at. I can see I've got some that haven't started 8th grade yet. That's fine. They're still working on filling in those gaps. But for those that have started, I can see where they are. And then as my other students start working on their 8th grade material, their data will fill in. So the data are dynamic. So as kids work, the data will populate in these reports. So this is just another piece where if you're concerned, let's say a state test, the test at the end of the year is coming up. I teach 8th grade, and I know my kids are gonna get that 8th grade test. I wanna make sure that we're all doing really well in sort of the earlier milestones. This is just another place to check that. So Dina showed you that student dashboard. Think of this page like your teacher dashboard. It's really where all of your data are housed. There was one question in the chat about seeing all of your kids at once in terms of like a printable report. So that's available as well. Just give me a second to load it. And I should have explained it. I just clicked on class progress right here. And so all the breakdown of where the reports are included in the handbook and also in the videos. So I can see here, this is just for today. So I don't even know who's using this account, but they are working on one competency. But if I want to set it for the whole year, I can do that. A common thing that we found a lot of teachers do is they sort of set the district or school level or even classroom level goal of 2 competency or lesson gains per week. Or you need to spend half an hour on Navigator this week. This is a good way to check that, because you can just set it for the week and you can really quickly see, is this column 2 if you're looking for 2 gains or 2 lessons mastered? Or you can look at time spent. If you said 30 minutes, is this 30 minutes? So this is downloadable and printable. We also had last year a lot of teachers using these in conferences. So when you download and print, they show up, individual student reports show up. So you can download and print individual student reports as well. So again, this is essentially what the student sees. So the question that the student asked, or not the student, I'm sorry, the question that one of you asked about the report and the way the students see the report, the option is there on the teacher side as well. So all of it's printable and downloadable. And again, it's just meant to give you the data that would be most useful to you. So I'm going to take myself back to this data dashboard page, the performance overview. And I just want to talk quickly about this guy up here. So in the past, this was split up into 2 different boxes. So right now we have it as one. We got that feedback that it was more intuitive to just have it as one box. So this box tells me where my kids are struggling or where there's opportunities for growth. So anytime students interact with a lesson and submit their responses to one of those assessments and don't master it, meaning they score less than 80%, they will A, be offered a suggestion by the system. And as Dina mentioned, they can say, no, thanks, I'm good. Or they can take the suggestion, and usually it's just support resources of saying, we noticed you struggled a little bit. Let's try and look at the material in a different way, and then try that assessment one more time. So in cases where students haven't mastered something, they'll appear on this list in terms of an opportunity for growth. So I can see from here, in my 8th grade class, I've got 16 of my kids have attempted and not mastered the lesson on graphing proportional relationships. So again, super high level. If I'm looking for things that I need to review, this is a good way to just check for that. Like 16 of my kids tried this and did not master it. This might be something I want to just do a reteach on, or an exit ticket on, or a homework assignment on, something like that. So you can scroll down and you can see who's struggling, but you also can take the action of assigning them a suggestion yourself. So anytime you see orange, this orange compass, that is the chance to offer a suggestion or a reroute. So I see my 16 kids. I want to know who they are. So here they are. I can see their scores. They're not great. So this could be where I stop. I could just find out who my kids are that are struggling, and I could just work with them or assign them something in particular. Or I can go one step further. If I feel like I want to assign them a support resource, I can do that as well. So the system suggests to you curated items. It could either be collections of resources or practice assessments in related competencies or standards. And if you want to assign it, you can. And it just goes to those students that need it. So it doesn't go to your whole class. It doesn't go to the students that didn't start the lesson or the ones that mastered it already. It just goes to the ones that need it. So like with the other data components that we've shown, I hope you find it useful. That was the intention behind the design. And the engineers on the call and those that aren't on the call, I think did an amazing job to really make the data visible, but also make it have a purpose. Because I know as teachers, you're asked a lot to do data-informed instruction and make data-informed modifications to your teaching. So we're trying to help by presenting the data in a way that doesn't require you to dig, but also gives you a chance to take an action with that data if you want to. So one more thing to show you, and then I know we're winding a little bit down on time, but one more thing to show you on the student locator tab here. It's just another visualization of how your students are doing. So Dina showed you on the student side that Skyline image, and you guys had some good questions about that. So on the teacher side, you can also see all the skylines. So for some of you, this might be the intuitive visualization of the graph of the data that works for you. If that's the case, awesome. If not, bypass this page. It's okay. It'll be there if you want to look at it. You don't have to use it if you don't want to. So again, really high level, I can see who my kids are that are doing pretty well. I can see those that might be struggling a little bit, like Anika here looks a little bit far behind. So let's say I want to take a closer look. Just click on the student and you get a view of what they're doing. So my instinct there that Anika was a little bit far behind looks to be the case. So I can see, as Dina said, the white line shows me where she is and how much she's mastered in each of those domains. So this is a math class, so we have the math domains. The dark blue is stuff that she's mastered. So she studied the resources, she took the assessment, she got 80% or better, she's got that. The light blue is stuff that she tried it but didn't quite master it yet. And then the gray is the unattempted lessons. So I can see in terms of counting cardinality, Anika's on grade level, perfect. I can see that I should probably be a little concerned about Anika's performance in numbers and operations. There is a pretty sizable gap between what she knows now and where she needs to go. And like I said before, almost everything is clickable. If you want more information, click. So I can see specifically what she's mastered, what she tried, score she got, and then all the things she hasn't tried yet. So as you play around and before your students are rostered and things like that, or after your students are rostered, as you play around, try clicking on things. There's lots of data there, but like I said a bit earlier, what we try to do is really pull all the stuff that you asked for to the surface. We didn't take away any of the other metrics that we had available because they're still useful and there's somebody out there that'll use them. But we tried to take everything that you specifically asked for to have really easy to visualize and access and act on and bring that up to the surface. So, Dina, are there any questions in chat or things I can show again on the teacher side while I'm on it?
I don't believe so. I think most of these have been answered.
Okay.
So really quick, the light blue does not give me a red or a yellow. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
It's just an in progress. Yep.
Okay. And then with the email for parents, when you have 2 different classes, you know, could be around 60 kids or more, you don't want to have to download every single PDF. Is there a way just to link it so you could send it for the kids? Like maybe if you do it at, you know, every 6 weeks or something, you're able just to email the parents, because sometimes the kids tell the parents one thing and they're not informed. So
Right.
you know, to have a link that maybe we could, I don't know if you input the kids' names, could we get a link at that time to either we input it, or if you would put it in for us, that would be just wonderful. But you know, if we could get that would just save us an awful lot of time.
Yes, 100% understand. So there is actually one other thing. There's a parent app that we have available now. And we've got training materials available in English and we're working on getting them in Spanish, but it's just a really easy app on the phone where the parent can pretty much view the student's account. They can't do anything on the student's account, but they can view it. So, yeah.
And I have one more question. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to take up time, but I worked really hard to try to use this program last year. So, the other thing is, like, my students, like when they go to the next teacher, how do they come in because they've used that program, the ones that have, or if I get ones that have used the program, you know, are they continuing on their pathway? Are they retaking a test? Okay.
Yep, no, so everything, that's a great question. Everything travels with the student. Okay. So anything that they did with you last year will travel with them to their new teacher. Okay. So they'll still take those diagnostics as they come across them, and that might sort of modulate where they are, but they won't have to redo anything. It's not like they're starting fresh.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
So there's a question in the chat about how can they add a lesson. So if you don't mind, can you show that one more time?
Add a lesson?
Yeah, assign a lesson.
Okay. So I will, yes. Is there anything else that I can show while I'm on this page before I show how to add a lesson or add an activity to support? Okay. So yeah, that question did come up in chat when I was on as well. So I'm glad we're going over it. So like we said, everything is in here for you. So at the base level, you don't have to do any extra work other than to just look at data every now and then. If you want to assign supplemental activities, you are absolutely more than welcome and encouraged to do that. So all I did here was I just clicked on my class activities tab. You guys will notice that's the one I didn't talk about yet. So the class activities tab is where you can assign supplemental work for your students. So it can be assigned to all of them, Some of them, one of them, whoever needs it. I know I've got 5 minutes to get through this. I will do my absolute best not to rush, but I do want to say that there is 2 detailed videos on the YouTube page on how to do this. And there's also really nice step-by-steps in that handbook on how to do this. So I'll show it to you, but just know that it's in writing and on video in case you want to look at it again. So you can search for an activity based on your scope and sequence. So I'm just using a sample scope and sequence here, but it's Eureka related. So you can look in the specific modules and lessons if you want to, or you can do something as basic as typing in a search term. So I typed in fractions and I get all these results of potential things that I can assign to my students that have the word fractions in them. You can also search by specific standard or competency. So you can see what standard each of these are tagged to. You can preview these and see, is this something I really want to assign to my kids? If it is, all you do is add the plus button. You can set the date. Some of you will remember from way back, it used to be a one-day deal that the students would get it assigned and have to do it in one day. Now, you can assign a due date in the future. So it doesn't have to be completed in one day. So you select your start and end date and you click add, there it is. As soon as you turn it on and activate it, it shows up on your students page. And on their data dashboard, your students will get a reminder of like, hey, this assignment is due on the 25th or 20, whatever I picked, 28th. So we've found that teachers use these sort of for 4 different things. One is for areas of struggle. This is a really good way to assign practice quizzes or extra resources. There's also offline activities, which are like projects, and they typically cover multiple standards. So one way to use these is for struggle. Another way is if you have need enrichment opportunities. So you have a student that's just absolutely flying through their learning journey and you want to sort of enrich what they're doing, this is a good way. I know some teachers, VVUSD teachers last year used these class activities just for homework. So the kids were working on the learning journey in class, filling in those gaps. Maybe in an 8th grade class, they were filling in 2nd and 3rd grade material, and then the teacher assigned 8th grade material for homework, doable. And then another way that we've seen teachers use this is for exit and entrance tickets. So it's really entirely up to you. And again, this is like a bonus. So you can run this just from the learning journey where the students are sort of working at their own pace and in a self-navigated environment, or you can add these. Either one works. It's totally up to you. But this is a really nice way to supplement what your students are doing. And it also gives you, as the teacher, a little bit more control because in their learning journeys, your students are working on their personalized paths in the order that they choose. Here, if I went over describing the effects of dilation and translation in class, and I want to assign one of these for homework just to really assess how my students are doing, this is a great way to do it. It gives you that control to assign a specific lesson and standard. Does that help? Okay, I'm going with silence as being yes. So I know we have 2 minutes. Are there any other questions that I can answer or that we can answer while we're on here with you? Okay. So I hope silence is good.
I put one last one in the chat box. I just wanted to make sure the lessons are, the activities that we assign as a teacher are different than their pathway.
Yeah.
Okay, checking, because one of our programs for math, they were the same. And I just wanted to make sure they were different, so.
Excellent question. So it's actually broken up into different libraries. So you can assign things that would appear in the journey. It just shows up as course map. Everything else is totally fresh and from just the massive library of resources that we have. So unless it's showing up in this course map area, it's something none of your students will have seen before. And all of these items that are showing up in these libraries are curated and or teacher created. So they have been vetted before they're sent off to you and your students. Okay, so in my last 30 seconds here, just thank you all for being here. I know this is a stressful time of year. We're super, super excited to work with you again this year. We so love the feedback. I know sometimes it doesn't feel great to give it, but it really, really matters to us. So as you work this year, we'll be in close contact with you at your beck and call, essentially, if you need help. But if you just have feedback for us on, hey, this doesn't work the way I want it to, or this is really cool, please just let us know. We'll do more training in the future, but again, we hope this is enough to get you started. And yeah, thank you so much for being here.